everybody, this is Grand Master Damian Lemos for onlinechesslessons.net, and in this video I'll be covering round 4 between Anand and Carlsen. And we'll see in this game we have a lot of action. Let's get started. White plays e4, Magnus plays e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to b5, and here Magnus plays the Berlin Wall with knight f6, which is quite solid for black. And Anand goes for the main line, castling here. The main alternative here is playing d3 instead of castling, therefore stopping knight takes e4. Here we'll see the main line where we'll get a middle game without queens. We'll see a lot of games with this line. After pawn takes, knight to f5, queen takes, king takes. This is the main line of the Berlin Wall. And black has a weak pawn structure on the queen side. On the other hand, he has the bishop pair, and this is of course an advantage if the position is open. Anand plays h3. Usually white plays with h3 in this kind of positions. However, in this specific position, white is used to play knight c3 or rook d1 check first. Magnus plays with bishop to d7. Well, black will have to place the king on c8 or maybe the king on e8, as he lost the right to castle. Rook to d1, bishop to e7. So far, solid moves by both sides. And here white plays knight to c3. Considering there is a pin on the d file, we should analyze a move like e6 maybe, and after pawn takes, knight to e5, although I think black can easily defend with knight d6, guarding the f7 square too. And after rook takes, well, here black has the bishop pair. He's got an extra pawn too, so this is not good for white. But in this variation, we have to consider things like this when we play as white. Knight c3, then Magnus plays king to c8. As I said before, we have some variations where king to e8 is also playable. King c8, bishop to c5. I think as white has like an extra pawn in this position, I mean material is equal, but we have an extra pawn on the king side, 4 against 3. It's a good idea to trade pieces off. However, black still has a bishop, and this should make a difference. So h6, bishop takes, Knight takes, rook to d2. Without queens, black can invest some tempos here to finish his development. And yeah, so far I don't see any weakness in black's area. Now Magnus starts advancing on the queen side. C pawns, c5 and c7 are double pawns. However, in the future these 4 pawns on the queen side, they can advance and they're going to be strong, I guess. Of course, first black should finish his development, but maybe if he plays b6, a5, one day he can try playing with b5 too. I mean, we can't underestimate that pawn storm on the queen side. Anand plays rook a d1. And then Magnus plays bishop to e6. I like this move. We keep again a solid position. I'm just wondering what happens if bishop c6. This move makes a lot of sense too. I'm thinking about, we have to double check this, but I guess this is playable, because I want to play knight e5 even if I sacrifice a pawn. I still think white has some good chances here, maybe, or the other variation I see is, oh, bishop takes. I was actually looking at this, and then white's idea is to play rook d8, therefore promoting, but yeah, bishop takes d1, and then we can't do that. Well, then after bishop c6, well, we can also consider moving the knight, protecting our pawn structure, protecting the pawn structure as white, and maybe trying to play something like knight to d3. This makes sense too. Fortunately, this trick is not working. So, well, bishop e6, this is quite solid too. And Anand plays knight to e1. Well, like we said before, he wants to improve his knight. And now we have more space on the king side too. He can try advancing with f4, g4, and knight g6, knight d3, b6. I believe black is okay here already. He's about to finish his development with king b7, and what I like about this line is those pawns on the queen side, supported by bishop e6, they are strong. That pawn storm is going to be strong in the long run, and it's not clear how white can activate those knights. As white, we don't have any hole to place our knights. So Anand plays knight to e2. He wants to control the f4 square. If he plays something like f4 maybe, then we can just consider playing with c4, attacking the knight on d3 and also attacking the f4 pawn. Of course, white has some compensation, but it's not the same. I mean, he's down a pawn, so f4 here, I don't think it's good. And if we play b3, then black plays c4, therefore getting rid of the double pawn. And he still has the bishop, so here I believe after c4, black gets the initiative. Knight to e2, and here Magnus plays the brave bishop takes a2. Before playing a move like this, of course we have to think twice, because that bishop is trapped after b3. However, black can play c4, knight to c1. This is a forced variation. Pawn takes, bishop b1, and then the bishop is safe. I guess both players they saw this, and white is down a pawn, but he'll get a serious initiative here. After f4, king b7. He plays king b7 because he needs a diagonal for the bishop, as we'll see. Here, bishop b1 is kind of trapped, and the only square available is c8. Of course, if bishop e6, we can play f5, and white wins a piece. Therefore, yeah, bishop c8 is the only move. Well, in this position, yeah, black has the extra pawn, and black's position is extremely solid. Again, I don't see any weaknesses. White has more space, but I'm not sure. It feels like black has the advantage here. Knight to d3. Probably preparing something like f5. And as black, we play h5 in order to activate our pieces. f5. And here Magnus plays knight to e7. There was another move. I was checking this with the computer. Knight h4 happens to be interesting as well. The thing is, for a real game, playing something like knight h4, it's not easy. I mean, you're placing the knight in the corner. It's not easy to play. After king f2 and king c3, well, that knight is in trouble. If we try playing something like this, we can see that white has this tricky move again, and after pawn takes, something like f6, and getting a pass pawn. Black's pieces are too passive, so I think white can afford playing like this. Remember that the initiative is more important than material, so I think knight e7 is better from the practice point of view. White plays knight to b5. Well, this is probably the only target to attack, so knight b5 should be okay. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Now rook h8 is playing. In fact, Magnus activates the rook with rook h4. Knight to f2. I guess this is the only move, isn't it? Well, we can also play rook c2, but after this the rook happens to be passive, so yeah, knight f2 is better. Knight c6, attacking e5, rook c2. Well, Anand, he's defending in an active way. It is much better to play something like this. you know, instead of defending with rook e1. And Magnus plays with a5. The big question here is what happens after a6. Pushing this knight back, I guess Anand was going to play rook c1, followed by rook takes c6, and if bishop d7, e6, and this is dangerous for black. Something like this, I believe. The pressure on the c file, together with this pass pawn, white has nice initiative here. So rook c1, I mean a5. Well, white could have played rook c1 anyway, but difference is, well, I believe maybe here we can also play rook h6. No, because we have e6, and then the threat is still there. I guess bishop d7 is the move anyway, and if e6 we can try playing something like this, and I think black is holding here, everything is under control, and maybe he can try playing with a4, therefore activating this rook on a8. This endgame without queens is complicated anyway. I mean, no queens on board, but still a lot of attack. Anand plays rook c4, defending c4 too. c6, rook to c1. You get, yeah, we've been analyzing variations like this before, trying to deviate this bishop from d7, and then knight to e4. I like the fact Anand is playing active, because if white plays passive here, he'll lose sooner or later. I don't think e6 is strong enough. White is down a pawn, and black has a solid position, so it's better to play active like this. Black takes the pawn, king f2, the king is getting better, rook f4, king to e3, and here rook f8. Well, again, checking this with the computer, which is much easier of course, we can see that rook d8 is a better option, and when white plays something like king e3 then rook d5, still not easy, but if we play something like this, the e6 pawn is quite weak. I guess we'll end up taking it, and yeah, this was probably an improvement. Magnus move, I understand it, that rook on c4 was passive, and we are trying to improve this rook, winning a tempo with rook f4 plus rook f8, and then knight to d4. Well, I guess, yeah, this is a forced variation now, because we can't defend this knight on c6. So knight takes, rook takes. All these moves are natural moves. Well, here white can't play king e5. We have a mate. And if king e3, I guess bishop b5, followed by rook d3 check. It's good for black. So after rook d8, king c3, rook f3, king b2. White will have to suffer in order to get full equality here. As we said in the opening, the bishop is usually better, and this goes for endgames too. That is why I like this move by White, because we don't want to play an endgame with the knight against the bishop. We want to play something like rook against rook. That's probably better. Rook to d3. I guess the same happens after rook takes, rook takes. We still get the endgame we want. After this, well, a nice in-between move to get some time on the clock, and also the king is not, you know, close to the queen side, to the center. The king goes back to the 7th rank, then we take. Magnus takes the knight, and then e7. Feels like black has a big advantage here, but I'm afraid this is not enough. As long as white gets rid of the she pawn, then this 2 against 1 on the queen side should be drawish. So it's nice though that Magnus plays it. He plays this out till the very end. But we'll see Anand has a good defense here. Black can't do much, because if he moves the rook somewhere like rook takes b3, then we have a check and we promote. So that is why he has to stay with the rook on the e file. That rook on e3 is kind of overloaded. So Magnus tries with g5, but well, of course, at this level, Anand, despite having few minutes left on the clock, he was able to find the way to draw this. We'll see a couple of moves here, but he'll get rid of the e pawn, he'll get the she pawn soon, and it's going to be a draw. As we can see here, quite easy. Couple of checks again to win some time on the clock, and then we'll get the she pawn. Check, king a3, rook e6. Again, Magnus wants to play this tricky, but this would have been a good variation too for a draw. I mean, the 2 against 1 on the queen side, it's not enough. So here, well, rook e6, rook d8. Again, getting, we are getting the she pawn, and just in case, to make sure we draw this, let's trade a pair of rooks too. a4, we can just ignore that pawn, we can play this, and then rook c7. This is a draw. Even if he plays b2, we takes, and we get a drawish endgame. And well, if he plays king a6, we play rook takes followed by king takes b3, and well, here it's a draw. Well, a very tough game. Again, I feel Magnus, like the Caro-Kann he played, he was equalizing quite, he equalized it in the opening, and in fact he got the advantage in that endgame without queens. So, well, let's see what comes in next rounds, but I'm very happy that in this game we saw a lot of fight. So, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in future rounds. Thank you.